Tuesday, and we got Ohio State secondary talk. I got some thoughts about Ryan Day, guards, Tigers preview, Browns check-in. I got eliminated from in the playoffs of my golf league yesterday because the handicap system is a joke. But I don't want to get into that. That would just turn into me rambling and bitching about nothing that y'all really don't care about. So let's jump right in. The Ohio State secondary has a battle for its fifth spot, I think. You can probably write it in pen. Devin Sanchez is going to play a corner spot. Jaylen McClain is going to play the free safety. Earl Little Jr. is going to play the box safety. And then Jermaine Matthews is going to play a corner of some sort. There's been reports that Timmons is flashing, running with the ones as a freshman in the slot, in the nickel spot. There's also Dominic Kelly. That is maybe a Devin Sanchez clone on the other side. I don't know if he's maybe a little bit of a lighter version. Here's the thing, is I think that Devin Sanchez is going to be a top 5 corner in the country this year. I feel pretty confident saying that. I think he's saying all the right things. He was one of the most highly touted, highly coveted cornerbacks when he came out of high school. And he got to play last year as a freshman. Had some good moments, had some not so good moments, but had moments nonetheless as a freshman. Then he's going to have that second-year jump physically. He is one of those guys that is also saying all of the right things. And, my biggest reason why, though, is I think he's going to make the biggest jump is because he's been guarding Jeremiah every single day in practice. And that stuff means something, that stuff is important. Last year, Miami had the 2 defensive ends, and then they had their 2 tackles also get drafted. One got drafted in the first round, another got drafted in, I think, the second or third round. Those battles mean something. When you practice and the best player you're going to face all season is the person you see in practice every single day. There's no way that you can go and not get better facing the best of the best. That's impossible. Either you're going to get better or you're going to lose confidence. And Devin Sanchez doesn't seem to me like a guy who's going to lose confidence. Then you have Jaylen McClain, who I think is going to be the second best safety in the country behind KJ Bolden. I know people think Coy Parrish is really good. Jaylen McClain is better than Coy Parrish, and I'll stamp it. I think Coy Parrish is really good. I think Coy Parrish is a really good player. I think he's going to be, provide a really high impact for Oregon. But I think Jaylen McClain's better. I think Jaylen McClain's the second best safety in the country. Earl Little Jr. is going to play that box safety, that enforcer role. I don't think he's going to have as much freedom as Caleb Downs. He's certainly not better than Caleb Downs. I don't think anybody that's trying to convince themselves of that is lying. Do I think I feel like he's a little bit more like that Lathan Ransom type of player that really wants to hit, that wants to tackle. No, Chris Drew's texting me. Hold on one second here. He's the type of player that wants to really come down and hit you. He's going to guard tight ends. He's going to be a force in the run defense. I think Earl Little Jr. is also going to be a bit of a leader, older guy, really good stuff. And then Jermaine Matthews is the veteran corner. I feel like Jermaine's been here. He's been playing since he was a freshman. He's just solid. He's really good. You know what we're going to get. Steady, as they would say. Shout out to Dustin Fox. But Jermaine Matthews is going to play somewhere. Now, the question is, who's the fifth? And to be honest with you, there's been a lot of rumblings about Timmons, a lot of excitement about Timmons, a lot of anticipation, and it's only been ramped up because he's playing a significant amount with the ones on defense in practice so far. But I got to be honest with you, I would be super supremely surprised. Supremely surprised. Wow. If a freshman's going to play that nickel spot. I think that nickel spot is asked to do a lot. Now, I don't, I got to really think about what it looks like. Matt Patricia is going to do a lot of different stuff. I think with this group, I think it's going to be more exotic. I think it's going to be some more packaging. I don't think that it's going to be like last year where it was just they were just so much more athletic, so much bigger, so much faster, so much stronger. That it was just very vanilla, and they just did. Because if you remember, like it was pretty exotic against Texas, and it sort of got less and less complicated. The defense did last year as the season went on because they just didn't need it. Matt Patricia just was like, we're just flat better than you are pretty much everywhere. And that's what they did. This year, I don't think they're going to do that. So, my vote, if it's not Jay Timmons, and like, let me preface what I'm about to, before I say what I'm about to say. If they believe Jay Timmons is good enough to play the slot, it's good enough for me. Matt Patricia has forgotten more football than I'll ever know, and I'll be fine with it. I think, based off of what I like from corners, specifically outside corners, I think Dominic Kelly being big, tall, fast, like Devin Sanchez, we're going to have to face some big outside receivers. Cam Coleman, Ryan Wingo. Then you have Charlie Beck and Nick Marsh in Indiana. You're going to have some guys that are big, that are physical receivers, and I want to be able to match that. And I think Dominic Kelly gives you that opportunity. But again, I'm fine with Jermaine Matthews being outside or inside. I think, it might take a little bit of adjustment for Jermaine Matthews to play inside, but I think Jermaine Matthews is tough enough to figure, smart enough and talented enough to figure it out, and tough enough to also fit the run and stick his face in there and get after it. So I'm fine either way. I think this secondary is one of the more underrated secondaries in the country. Everybody keeps Joe. I was listening to Joe Clout this morning. We're replacing eight starters from last year. Not to mention a number one overall defense. The national championship team, they had to replace starters as well. I don't know if it was 8 at the top of my head. I don't remember how many it was, but they had to replace starters from the national championship team, and they came back the next year with the number one overall defense. People aren't. I don't think people are giving Matt Patricia enough credit, and he's going to figure this out. And this secondary is going to be, I think it's a top 5 secondary in college football. I think Oregon's is really, really good. I think Georgia's is probably the best, to be quite honest with you. So I would say we're in that 3, 4, 5 range. I'm sure I'm forgetting some other units, but I think Ohio State secondary could be a strength of the defense this year. We'll see. My expectations for the secondary is I think we're going to create some more turnovers. I think they're going to take a little bit more risk than they have in the past. I think they're going to make some more big plays. Do I think we're going to give up some big plays here and there, a little bit more than we have in the past 2 years? Yep, I do. But with risk comes reward. And I think if they're confident enough and they play sound enough, they can take those risks and make those plays. So I have high expectations. I'm excited. TSC reportedly is struggling. Juck said that he's struggling. Not like, oh my God, he's terrible. What are we going to do if Julian goes down? But more of like, the progression is not where we thought it would be. And I think this was sort of expected. Chris and I talked about when TSC got to Ohio State, playing in Bellefontaine, like, that's not good competition. Not great athletes that you're playing with or against on a weekly basis. And that adjustment is going to take some time. it's just maybe taking a little bit longer than we thought. You know, there was reports that Luke Fahey was playing really well, was better. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think competition is always good. TSC doesn't need to be perfect right now, but we would like to see more improvement. Because in all reality, this is probably Julian Sayin's last year at Ohio State. I would be pretty surprised. Put it this way. This might be a hot take. I don't know. But if Julian Sayin comes back and Ryan Day wants him to come back, that's an indictment on Tavien St. Clair. Because one, if Julian Sayin is wanting to come back, something didn't go right. When we're talking about a guy who's probably would have been a first round pick last year if he was eligible to come out. If you're not good enough to leave after 2 years of a starting quarterback at Ohio State, something's wrong. And for Ryan Day to want Julian to come back after this season, no matter what happens, team wise, it's an indictment on TSC, and it's probably, like I said, something didn't go right this season. So I think TSC needs to get going, play a little bit better in practice. I think also, and this is going to go into what I'm going to talk about next. When TSC goes in the game against the Ball State or against the Kent State, they need to throw the ball. They need to run the offense as they normally would run the offense. He needs those reps. For him to go out there and just hand the ball off, it does nothing for him. It does not help him. And I'm sorry, I don't care about what the score is. If you beat Kent State and in Ball State 70-7, I don't care. It's supposed to be that way. And I don't care if people think that, oh, it's sportsmanship and don't run up the score. You don't want to run up the score on your, local Ohio schools. I'm like, sorry, man, but like I got to worry about my program first. My program first. My number one priority. Ryan Day's number one priority is Ohio State, and making sure that his program is good now and good for the future. You have to be able to balance both, and that's his number one priority. So when TSC goes into games, run the playbook, run the offense, throw the football, do the things. Speaking of, 2019 through 2022, I think Ohio State's offense struck fear into teams, right? 2019, Justin Fields, J.K. Dobbins goes for 1,000 yards. Chris Olave, young Garrett Wilson. 50 points a game they averaged in 2019, third in the country. 2020, Fields, Trey Sermon, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, 41 points per game in a shortened COVID year, was good for 11th. Probably would have been more if they had played a full schedule. 2021, CJ Stroud, Travion Henderson, JSN, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, 45.7 points per game, first in the country. 2022, Stroud, Marv, Emeka, JSN for a portion of the year, 44.2 points per game, second in the country. Like those four offenses struck fear into the opposing team, into the opposing defense. I was at the 2021, I think that was 2021 Michigan State game at the Horseshoe. It's a top 10 matchup. People were excited. They came out and they threw absolute bombs all over the field, and it was 42-0 at halftime, and Michigan State didn't even know what happened. And Mel Tucker came on after the game and said he felt like they were dropping receivers out of airplanes. They were so open. Like those, and that mentality is something that Ryan Day needs to get back. And then if you think about it, on the flip side of 2024 and 2025, notice I'm skipping 2023 because that was a shit show entirely. But 2024 and 2025, the defense intimidated opponents. They were intimidating. They were faster. They were more athletic. They were sound schematically. They did all the things. They were and they were bigger, faster, stronger, like I said. And they were intimidating. 2024, 12.9 points per game, first in the country. 2025, last year, 9.3 points per game, first in the country. They suffocated you. They were intimidating. And you knew that it was going to be a hard day. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, guys, that this defense, while I don't think it's 9.3 or 12.9 points per game is good, but this defense is going to be intimidating. I think this defense is going to force some more turnovers. And there's no reason why this offense can't strike fear as well. You have second-year Julian Sayin. You have two running backs who I think could be top 15 in the country. You have the best player in college football. You have a group of two young stud receivers, and you have another transfer, Devin McCune, who's showing out and doing a lot of good things. There's no reason why you can't do both. Why can't Ryan Day be Thanos and use all of the Infinity Stones? Strike fear on offense and be intimidating on defense. What are you holding back for? Because if you're intimidating if you play the defense like they think they're going to play, and he unloads the clip and tries to score 1 million points, you're going to save these kids' legs because they're going to be out of the game midway through the third quarter. There's no reason why you can, there's nothing to hold back. Ohio State never loses because of a talent issue. Use everything you got and mirror both. Because Ryan Day is always, basically what he's always done is he's done what he had to do based on the team that he has. Well, you have both. You can do both. There's no reason why you can't be great on defense and great on offense and go fast on offense. Score 1 million points and be great on defense. There's depth on defense. They have good players, multiple good players on the first and second team defense at all three levels. They can do it. So it's time for Ryan Day to flip the switch and strike fear and be intimidating and do both. Be the Yankees. Be prime spending George Steinbrenner Yankees. That's who Ohio State needs to be, and that's who Ryan Day needs to remember who he is. Because that's what this roster is capable of doing. He just has to get out of the way and let it happen and be confident. All right. Real quick, the NBA announced that the Cavs are going to be the home opening opponent for the Philadelphia 76ers. The NBA likes stories, don't they? This is what LeBron James at 42 years old, still being the face of the league, and his decision holding up the entire NBA scheduling process is proof. This is just, it's amazing. What the NBA is going to do when he retires, I have no idea, but good luck to him. All right. Guardians and the Tigers. Guardians, this is do or die time for the Guardians, I think. We're entering a stretch where you're on the cusp of either dying or thriving. I don't think there's a surviving scenario here. Pitching matchups: Tanner Bybee versus Drew Anderson, Foster Griffin versus Framber Valdez, Parker Messick versus Montero. I don't know what to say because I don't know which Guardian offense is going to show up, so it's hard for me to say that there's any advantage in the pitching matchups. You like Messick. Tanner Bybee's, done well, especially against the AL Central. You feel like you have a chance. Foster Griffin, I don't know what that first start was, but that's got to be better. So I don't know. As far as the pitching matchups, who knows? Detroit's 7-3 in their last 10, 6-2 since the Skubal trade, which I'll get into here in a second. I mean, they've made up 11.5 games on the Guardians. That's how good they've been and how bad we've been. It's I think the Skubal trade, maybe they were kind of a sleepy team to start the year, to be honest with you. They were underachieving, disappointing. Felt like it felt like this was their time, the Tigers did. They had talent. They had all those things. And it just seems like they were just kind of a sleepy, underperforming team. And this may have woken them up, to be honest with you. It may have made them realize that it's, they traded our guy because they didn't think we can do it. And now we have nobody to rely on, and we have to do it. Riley Green's hitting well. Dylan Dingler is a stud. Shout out to Massillon Jackson High School. I remember I coached against Dylan Dingler his senior year of high school. Beat him, but he was so good. Anyways, this is a big series. This is, like I said, I don't think the Guardians can survive much longer just floating. I think they're going to either thrive or they're going to die. And the biggest reason why is, I think, like I said, Jose Ramirez's hamate bone injury has zapped his power. So Jose Ramirez is going to have to recreate himself for the next, 2 months, essentially, to get this team to the postseason. And one of the ways I think that he might be able to do that is batting Jose in the leadoff spot. And you're like, whoa, wait a second. Jose leadoff. Like, what's kind of crazy? Hear me out. The one thing that Jose Ramirez is doing at an extremely high clip this year is stealing bases. And one of the biggest issues I have with Steven Kwan is that he doesn't steal bases and he's a singles hitter. Well, right now, Jose Ramirez is a singles hitter. That's what he can provide you. But the difference between Kwan and Jose is when Jose hits a single, it turns into a double because he steals the base. Steven Kwan stays at first base and needs 2, sometimes 3 hits to get him to score. Jose Ramirez makes things happen on the bases that allows him to put his teammates in situations to drive runs in. Instead of having to get 2 hits, we can just get 1 hit to score a run. Jose gets on, and we need 1 more hit to score him because he's probably going to steal second base. I mean, guys, he's like second in the AL in stolen bases, and he missed a whole month, essentially. Putting Jose in the leadoff spot would go a long way, I think, in helping this offense create runs, since they're not going to hit home runs. Right? Put Steven Kwan batting second behind him. Then you have Chase Louder, Joe Adell, Angel Martinez. You got Travis Bazzana in there, Angel Hanau. You got the 2 catchers, and you got Nathaniel Lowe and Reese Hoskins, I guess. I think putting Jose in the leadoff spot might allow them to manufacture runs in a different way. And if anybody can recreate themselves into being a major asset to a baseball team, it's Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez has changed himself and adapted his play for whatever the team needs, as long as he's capable of doing it. One year went out and hit 40 bombs because they needed him to hit 40 bombs, and that's what he did. This year, he needs to steal maybe 50 bases. He could do it. I think he can steal 20 more bases. He's at 30 right now. I think he can get to 20 more. If he can continue to get on base. So we'll see. I'm definitely. It's a big series, and there's no other way around it. I think this team, if they can get on a roll. But I think this team needs to be willing to be a little bit desperate. And I think, in my opinion, moving Jose to leadoff spot might be that desperate move. Real quick to wrap up, a little bit of a Browns update. Spencer Fano and Denzel Boston are promoted to the ones. Todd Monken said the fight with Jared Verse solidified Spencer Fano being with the ones. Man, Todd Monken is a football guy, isn't he? He said, "Oh, you will fight the baddest dude on our whole team? Yep, I want you in my foxhole. I want you protecting our quarterback. You can be with the ones. You're our starting left tackle." I think it was inevitable, but I think we can also say that's even though it was inevitable, Spencer Fano went out and earned it and showed it and proved it. with his toughness, with his tenacity, his grit, and his talent. So awesome for him. Denzel Boston also going with the ones. I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. I said right before the Browns drafted Casey Concepcion, I said Denzel Boston's the pick here. He's the better wide receiver, and he's exactly the type of receiver that the Browns need. Thank God they got him with the second-round pick because he's the better wide receiver. And I said it that night, and I'll stand by it. You know, like Chris likes to say, it's better to be, never wrong, just early. Well, I told you so. Do I think Casey Concepcion is playing well in camp and making some tough catches? Absolutely. I think it's been awesome to see. But I want to see what his hands look like in a real game, in a regular season game, on a 3rd and 4 in the second quarter, and he's asked to run a slant across the middle. Will he catch the football? And I hope he does. But Denzel Boston is the real prize here, is the real guy, the real stud in this whole thing. So I'm happy about that. But I do want to check in on the offense real quick. Dan Ofusi was at practice yesterday. And this was the first tweet. 2-minute drill with Shedeur Sanders in the number 1 offense versus the number 1 defense. Sanders had a short completion to Judy. What followed was 3 straight pre-snap penalties for the offense. The last, a Spencer Furneaux false start. Todd Monken sent the number 1 offense off the field. The number 2 offense, led by Deshaun Watson, has 2 straight pre-snap penalties. The final was a false start, and that is how practice ended. Neither 2-minute drill picked up a first down. Error-filled practice for Cleveland's offense from drops to penalties. Cleveland Browns offense and pre-snap penalties is a tale as old as time. It's going to take a lot for Todd Monken to make a disciplined team out of this team. I feel like they've had 5 years of pre-snap penalty issues. They've had 5 years of undisciplined play when it comes to the penalties. And it's not like they have personal fouls. They just can't execute, and they can't not jump off sides or not false start. They just are an undisciplined group, and he has to beat that out of him. And I guess he can't ended practice, threw his shit, said, get off the field. You know what? Maybe Todd Monken is the coach that this organization needed. An old school football guy who's going to chew their ass out, who's going to bark down their throat, who's going to be mean, he's going to be nasty, he's going to have high expectations. And maybe this could be a year of clearing out the bad to make room for the good. I don't know. But it seems like the problems of the past are still the problems of today. We'll see. We'll see. A lot of good stuff going on the Dead Air Sports channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Go watch all the boys. Ron and Q in the mornings. Chris Signal Lost. We got some cool stuff coming your way. So, again, like, comment, subscribe. We're trying to get to 10,000 subs. We're about 9,500. We appreciate all your help, all your support. Peace.